What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Are you tired of taking prizes? I know I am. That's why in today's video we're going to be winning all of our matches by deck out. Fans of Mill rejoiced when they saw Anthony Fernie take top 4 at the regional in Brisbane, Australia. So let's see what this list has going on for it. We start off with the bread and butter of the deck, the 4 copies of Durant with that Devour attack, discarding a card from your opponent's deck for each Durant you have in play. Since the whole strategy is to get our Durants in play and keep them around for as long as possible, we have cards like Heavy Ball to fish them out of the prizes, cards like Battle VIP Pass to get them out of the deck, cards like Rescue Carrier to get them out of the discard pile, and cards like Klara as well. So this whole deck is really aimed at getting those Durant into play from wherever they happen to be, whether it's the discard pile, the deck, or the prizes. There's a single copy of Castform here solely for that free retreat, and used in combination with Yell Horn. So after your opponent takes a KO, you can promote that free retreat Castform, use the Yell Horn to confuse both active Pokemon, and then retreat out of the Castform into your attacker to make it so that there's a one-sided confusion lock on your opponent. There are also 2 copies of the Yveltal with that Cry of Destruction attack, getting rid of special energy attached to your opponent's Pokemon, used mostly in the Lugia matchup. Also have the Radiant Venusaur with that Sunny Bloom ability, and at the end of your turn, if you have less than 4 cards in your hand, you can draw until you have 4 cards in hand. Also 1 copy of Pyukumuku with that Pitch a Pyukumuku, putting it on the bottom of your deck and drawing a card from the top of your deck. Mentioned the 4 Battle VIP Pass, 3 Level Ball, and 3 Quick Ball, just to get our Durants out of the deck and other Pokemon to get our board established. Have 3 copies of Pokégear, which will help fish out some of our supporters. And these are all things you can also take off of the Peony, which we'll come to in a moment. Have 2 copies of Scoop Up Net, since we want a way to get some of our hefty retreat Pokemon out of play and out of the active, especially this Venusaur. We have 3 copies of Rose Tower, which are just, again, additional ways to draw cards. 4 copies of Bruno, since your opponent is most likely going to be taking a KO every turn, as long as they're able to, since our Pokemon have very low HP. The Bruno supporter is very good at getting more cards and replenishing our hand, since you do draw a full 7 cards if your opponent took a knockout on the last turn. 1 copy of Klara, just to get back our Pokemon. We don't actually play any basic energy, so it's just going to be another way to get some of our Pokemon back from the discard pile. Those 4 Peony that we mentioned, and you can see all of the different items here that this card helps us to find, and you can also thin out your hand of useless resources to draw off of the Rose Tower or the Radiant Venusaur as well. 1 copy of Serena, which is basically our Gust ability in this deck, but you also have the added benefit of being able to use it as a draw supporter. 1 copy of Sidney to target down the tool cards, special energy, and stadium cards in your opponent's hand. 3 copies of Cape of Toughness, just to keep our little Durants surviving a little bit longer, especially against single prize matchups where they might not be swinging for 140 damage or enough to take out our little ants. So the Cape of Toughness just making our opponent maybe extend a little bit further. And then of course 4 copies of Double Turbo and 4 copies of Twin Energy, since we only need 2 colorless energy to attack with Devour or to attack with Cry of Destruction. We just want to play everything that provides those 2 colorless energy. So that's the 60. Let's see it in action. Getting into a game with Durant here. Super excited to see what this deck can do. And there's something just so satisfying about watching cards flip off the top of your opponent's deck as you mill them out and win the game. And I love decks that have a little element of control to them as well. Since this deck is a little bit denial based and a little disruptive, we can deny our opponent a little bit. We do have 2 Durants prize off this Heavy Ball, so really glad we played the 2 Heavy Balls here, and 1 Twin Energy's prize. Not the worst, but we can at least get 1 of those Durants off the prizes, and I think we can actually play out most of this hand. So can throw down the Rose Tower, put a Cape of Toughness on the active, grab the last Durant out of the deck, bench that, bench the Venusaur, and then we will Rose Tower for 1, get another Rose Tower, and we'll just pass and use the Venusaur to draw 1 more card. Battle VIP Pass, of course, but not too bad. Get our 3 Durants in play, including a Cape on the active. So we know we have another 1 prize, so we can go in at some point with the second Heavy Ball, which we know is in deck. And we are up against a Lost Zone engine deck. This is going to be a tough matchup since our opponent can eventually get into that Sableye, but we're just hoping we can mill them out before that point comes. And we'll throw up the Durant off this escape rope. I was thinking about getting the Castform down last turn with that Level Ball perhaps instead of the Durant, but I wanted to just get our board established. See the flower selecting. And we definitely want to be able to put out some pressure as early as we can. Our opponent's deck is most likely playing a ton of recovery cards, so we want to see those hitting the discard pile in the Lost Zone if we can, and run them out of resources, get rid of their cards before they're able to get up to the Sableye and start just spreading all over our board. And that's where these capes are going to come in handy as well, since our opponent would need to put that many more damage counters onto our Durants to take them all out at the same time. See another Scoop Up Net, so our opponent just going to keep going through the flower selecting, cycling through there. They are down 2 Scoop Up Nets and an escape rope, so maybe they might stall out after this one. They could also just attach retreat, but the Klara hitting the Lost Zone is something I'm not too disappointed to see. They wouldn't shuffle the cards back into their deck, but just ways that they can get more cards out of the discard pile. And they use another flower selecting, get rid of that choice belt. That's not going to be useful against us whatsoever, so they definitely want to get rid of that. And another Comfy. They can attach retreat. They have used 3 Scoop Up Nets on the opening turn. And I don't know what it is, this phenomenon that I've witnessed in the few times I've played the Lost Zone engine deck or anything that plays cards that can really abuse Scoop Up Nets. I feel like you just always draw them in pairs. You always draw them like back to back to back, and you can just use like 3 or 4 on the first turn, and it's just, it blows my mind, the statistics on that. But it's also really annoying if you're sitting on the other side of the table watching your opponent play 3 or 4 Scoop Up Nets on their first turn of the game. That's probably our biggest threat. We do top deck the Peony, so that's not too bad. I'm gonna go in with this Peony here. Nothing in that hand that I'm really super attached to. I think we're gonna grab the Heavy Ball and the Level Ball. I want to go get that Castform out of the deck, and we can also grab the last Durant out of the prizes with this Heavy Ball. Then we can draw for 3 cards off of the Rose Tower, and if we whiff, we can also go in with the Venusaur at the end of our turn. Do whiff, unfortunately, so we'll just pass and draw that 4th card. We do have the Rescue Carriers, and we find a Pokégear off the Venusaur as well, so not the worst. Would have loved to put out some pressure there and mill 4 of our opponent's cards. We could have, but we at least get our board established. We have pretty much everything in play that we'd want to have in play, and have a potential follow-up with this Pokégear, plus the top deck that we get as well. And we have, I think, almost all. I think we only prized the 1 Twin Energy, so we have 7 energy left in deck that we could hit on the next turn of the game. So I'm actually even hoping they get a KO here with something like a Cramorant that activates Bruno for us to draw 7 cards, and we can just burn cards like these Rescue Carriers out of our hand as well. And they do get the Cramorant off this Capture Energy, so I'm actually happy to see that. I actually kind of want them to start taking prizes. I mean, of course, if they whiff a KO, we're also in a great spot, but they're not going to whiff a KO this early in the game with this good of a setup where they have so many in the Lost Zone and they've used so many Comfies already. Have to imagine that they're going to get this KO, so I'm not too upset about it. Does activate that Bruno, as I mentioned, and we can pivot around a little bit with this Castform too, so we could potentially get the Yell Horn, since they did already use a bunch of Scoop Up Nets, and we do top deck the Twin Energy. Would have loved to have seen that on the last turn. Start with this Pokégear, get a Bruno, get a Peony. Don't want to lose both of these Rescue Carriers, but we do play a bunch, so we can use one, grab the Durant, and actually I might even just hold this hand, hold on to that Peony. There's nothing I really feel like I need here, and we're just going to go for that Devour. I already have the Rescue Carrier in hand for the next turn, so when they take a KO on this Durant, if they get a KO on this Durant, because these capes do protect us against the Cramorant currently. We did hit their Temple of Sinnoh and a Scoop Up Net, the last Scoop Up Net, and a couple energy as well, I think. So, see an escape rope. I think I'm just going to throw up this Castform, just give us as many choices as we can, and they could have just taken a KO on anything. Anything except for the Venusaur, but I don't really want to use a Scoop Up Net if I don't have to, since we're anticipating the Sableye to come down at some point. I would love to save that to clean off some damage if we can, or just to keep them around to move the Venusaur. See the quick ball, and I might even just hold on to this Rescue Carrier for 2 turns, kind of just let them take a KO in the Castform and then maybe fight through another Durant, and then use the Rescue Carrier for maximum value on the turn after that. Go into Snorlax, and if they want to attack with Snorlax, I am okay with that because they're already down 2 escape ropes and 4 scoop up nets, and that means that they could potentially keep flipping tails, since Snorlax does need to flip 2 heads to wake up from sleep. That is a very inefficient attacker for them in this matchup. And they're burning a switch cart too, so all of these cards that I kind of want them to be playing, going through their deck that much more. They're already down to 20 cards and they still have to take 5 prizes, so I actually feel like we're in a pretty good spot here. Even Klara, so they're going down to 15 cards, and they are really playing with fire. And they get rid of a Klara and an Ice Cube. And they're down a couple energy, nothing too bad in the last one. They do get the Sableye down. I think they're already at 10, 5, 10. So yes, they can put out some pressure with this Sableye, which is definitely not something we wanted to see. As I mentioned, that was definitely threat number 1. The Psychic Energy come down. Did they also have a way into the Comfey? They have the Zekrom, which is cool. They have the Mirage Gate, so they can definitely attach an energy to the active. I don't think they've hard retreated yet, so they can actually just pivot into that Sableye. And again, they're taking more cards out of their deck. They're going down to at least 14 here, maybe even 13 if they put another energy in play, which they do. And we really only need a few more turns of devouring to take the game here. I think I'm just going to prioritize denying our opponent prizes more than anything else. They do Ordinary Rods, so they'll put some cards back into the deck, you know. And they're going to go in with that Lost Mine. So have to imagine the Castform's going down, and then they can put the remaining 5 on a Durant. We'll see what they choose to go in with, though. There's the Lost Mine. And they target 2 Durants. They take out a Durant and put 3 on this one, which doesn't actually set it up unless they play that Lost Vacuum. So let's see what we get. Another Twin Energy is great. Start with the Rescue Carrier. Grab that Durant back. Throw that down with the energy attached to it. And then we'll use this Peony. I want to just go get a Cape or 2 even. I think I'm just going to grab double Cape here even. Throw these onto Durants just to protect those a little bit. Use the Rose Tower. We get the Yell Horn, which is great too. Force another switch card out of them. Retreat into this Durant, I think. 10. I actually want to go into this Durant. And then we will devour again. Take 4 more cards away. And draw 2 more with that Venusaur, which is super nice. Opponent down to just 10 cards here. We did get rid of their Charizard. They're going to switch cart, 2 escape ropes. All 4 scoop up nets are gone as well. The Yell Horn at least forces them to be a little bit more aggressive and burn some more cards potentially. I could have actually gotten that off the Peony. I think I wanted to just get the 2 capes in play since that forces a little bit more from our opponent, but probably should have gotten the Yell Horn as one of those cards instead. And we'll see what they have, maybe going in with the... Okay, they go on the boss. Go after this Durant. So they won't be able to take a KO here with the Spit Innocently. And we're a little bit worried, of course, because they can come in with this Sableye at some point. The Castform is always in danger, so see what we can get here. We do get a Bruno, which is nice. We'll attach the double turbo to this Durant. I'm debating if I want to... Klara just to get the guaranteed Durant back, but I think I'm going to be a little bit more aggressive. I'd like to find a Yell Horn and something else to go along with it, and that's exactly what we find here. That is perfect. We'll use that Yell Horn, force another energy to retreat out of our opponent, and then go in with the Rescue Carrier again. Throw that down, and I actually want to keep this Level Ball around since it's an out to that Pyukumuku, and then we'll go in with the Durant. Use Devour one more time, and we are ahead of our opponent a little bit. We did actually get rid of their Ordinary Rod too, I think. Both Ordinary Rods are gone. A lot of energy are down as well. We only have 5 cards left, so we are very, very close to being able to deck our opponent out. get the attack into the active, so we knew that they probably were going to have another energy at least to attack. See the lost vacuums, they will be able to get rid of one of our capes. They get rid of one of the active, so they won't be able to take 2 prizes here. They can at least set up one of these Durants though. And I think I'm actually going to bench this Yveltal just so that in case they play something like an Echoing Horn, they can't bring back the Castform to take the game on the following turn. And they go after 2 Durant. So they're actually keeping the Castform in play, which is definitely a smart call from them. Get the Yell Horn again, so we'll go in with that Yell Horn. I want to check this Pokégear. I want to see if I get this Klara. We do get the Klara, which is awesome. Can just go back and get that other Durant. I could also bench this Yveltal just to have something on the bench that has more HP, but I think we're just going to go in the Klara. Just grab the Durant. Throw that down. And we will, actually before we retreat, we're going to use the Pyukumuku just to draw some more cards. See if there's anything else we can get. We do have the Bruno for the next turn. We do get a double turbo. I'm actually going to hold on to this, I think. There's really not really a reason to play it. And we'll go for the Devour. Mill 4 more cards. Opponent has 1 card left we got rid of, or there's no cards left. We got rid of the switch cart 2. And unless they can take 2 prizes this turn, I don't really have a way to get back into the Sableye that I can see. And they get the attachment to there, and they just spit innocently, so we actually will just pass and win the game against Lost Box. Don't even have to do anything other than just pass, and that's the game with Durant. Isn't Mill just so much fun? Certainly enjoyed myself playing this deck, and it actually seems like it's not too bad, actually in a decent place in this meta as well. So maybe roll up to a tournament near you with Durant sometime and make all of your opponents really mad. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like on it, comment down below, subscribe to my channel, and I will catch you all in the next video.